All right, guys. It is now 8:30, and the meeting will start. Do I need to do anything to press that?
Never know you're gonna get with him. Never know you're gonna get with him.
It hasn't turned red
You
yet?
can't, you know, you're gonna get with him.
So, because you missed last week, I don't know why, you want the first Friday of the month.
I thought you were gonna text me.
The next time, the ball.
You know what, I'll put it on my
Police
calendar.
and fire.
First Friday of the month.
All right, welcome everyone to the June 9th meeting of the Cable Television Advisory Board. We'll get started with a roll call. Steve Buxton.
Here.
Lauren Byers.
Here.
Roni Camille.
Here.
Andrew Sonoda is here. Joe Fay.
Here.
Okay, that's an alternate. Alderman Ernest Jetty.
Here.
Kimberly Kleiner is not a member. Do we have someone from Administrative Services that's going to be here today, or?
I don't know.
All right, Cheryl Linder is not here. Jennifer McCormick is not here. Nick Miserovich, also not here. Cole Morgan.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. All right, there are no members of the public present, so we'll move on to acceptance of minutes from the previous meetings. Is there a motion with regard to the meeting minutes from March 10th?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes placed on file.
There's a motion to accept the minutes and place on file. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, communications. So in addition to the reports that you received and will be reviewing, we also received, the city received a communication from Comcast with regard to changes in channel lineups. So we'll include a copy of that in the minutes
And I can
post it
no,
on.
I did send that out to everybody.
Is there a way we can post that on the website so that
Yes, I'll talk to
if
Don.
people have questions about where their channels might have gone to, this might help them find them.
May I just note, this is Pete Johnson, that our channel numbers are also changing. So for people that watch the PEG channels at home, we'll make sure we put that out on our bulletin boards. But each of our channels has some changes, so.
All right, thank you. So is there a motion with regard to the Comcast communication?
I'll move that we accept it and place it on file.
There's a motion to accept and place on file. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, and we'll move on to the reports.
All right.
Mr. Painter, would you like to start us off with financials?
Absolutely. Excuse me. Our current balance of the operating account 2505 is $512,000, $512,406.19. Expenses for May were $15,439. Operations, we had 5,317 cable casts total from March to May 2023. Of this, 141 were live events, and this broke down to Public 9640, Education 9949, and Government 1652. We had 5,176 playbacks, and of this, it broke down to Public 96, 3,204, Education 99, 1,065, and Government 16, 907. Studio cameras. Time has arrived for us to replace our cameras in the studio at 11 Riverside Street. These JVC cameras have served us well for 13 years, but as technology marches on, so too must we. We've researched solutions that will be cost-effective and serve our needs well into the future. We are confident we can replace the cameras and teleprompters and mounts and subsequent new cabling in an amount not to exceed $50,000. And we're seeking approval of an amount not to exceed $50,000 to accomplish this replacement during the slower summer months. And we'll go more into that technically when we get to that.
Okay. All right.
Pete?
All right, Pete Johnson with Nashua Educational Television. Just wanted to go through some of what we've done over the last 3 months. Probably won't read it all since it's pretty long, but did a lot of live coverage of sporting events during the end of the winter, including going over to UNH for championship basketball. Unfortunately, we can't do that live because of the NHIAA already has a group that produces those championship games live, but we are able to record them with our own announcers and play them back during, I think it's 48 hours later, so I have to wait a little bit to do that. But nice to get over there and play with the big boys, so to speak. We also did, there was a proclamation by State Senator Cindy Rosenwald that was held at Nashua South, congratulating the Nashua South boys soccer program, which won the state championship for the second year in a row last fall. So we continue to record Public Health Matters all the way up and through last week, and just so viewers know, the last show that was done was our host, Jane. It was her last day. She's moved on from the Public Health Department, and Bobby Bagley will be taking over as the host of Public Health Matters. We got back and did our first program over at the Nashua Historical Society. We did a program called The Bride Wore Purple. So they're back to doing things now after the pandemic, and I assume we'll do 2 or 3 of those again a year like we have in the past. Jumping back to May, we had Battle of the Bridge for spring sports. Did live coverage of both the boys and girls lacrosse games at Stello Stadium and the baseball game that was held over at Holman Stadium. Went over and did the Pennachuck Middle School rededication ceremony. We did a number of concerts, including 2 from Upbeat, New Hampshire, using students from the Nashua School District. So that's about it for that report. So.
All right, thank you. BRB, Mr. Bardos and Mr. Russell, do you have a report for us?
Good to see everybody again. Just some overview. From March 1, 2023 to May 2023, Channel 96, which I believe will become Channel 6 soon, we ran 3,341 shows, okay? Approximately 2,117 hours, of which 460 of those programs were first run. And during that time as well, we put 40 live shows on. And the last 2 weeks have been really busy with live shows. We're doing another one Saturday night with the National Choral Society, so if you want to watch that, 7 to 9 as well. We've continued to work with all of our existing hosts. We've added quite a few different programming in all aspects, fitness, cooking, fishing, you name it. Anything that's happening and anybody that wants to be on TV does. Our live cameras are just killing it. And we have 3. We have an arts camera, of course, the Nashua Center for the Arts. We have the Main Street camera, and we have the Nashua River camera. The arts camera from March 1 till May 31st was viewed 9,065 times by 3,754 unique viewers. That is outstanding for little Nashua. The Main Street camera was viewed 7,981 times, 3,104 44 unique as well. And the river camera, 8,789. This is only 3 months. That is a lot of people watching absolutely nothing. Which made me want to do what we started to do live on TV in the morning when I'm able to get up and do it, is we have this Morning Zen. It's a live camera for an hour with the sounds of outdoor nature somewhere in Nashua. It's on the river, it's at Mine Falls Park, it's wherever, and it's an hour of just, you know, and whatever day it is, Wednesday morning Zen. That's it. So these numbers to me have been doing this in my 22nd year of broadcasting are very impressive, regardless of whoever's doing it. With that being said, we've just started our poll for our annual survey to see what the viewers would like and what they want to see, and everything is a questionnaire now on the website, which it should get quite a bit of response because of all of these cameras viewing. I'm putting that logo up on those cams. So they're going to be seen. Now, whether they go to the website and do it, that's another story. That started this week, and we'll get some feedback from the public on what they watch, what they want to watch, what they'd like to see, and everything that's entitled in that. Hopefully we'll get a good response. Again, great support from education and the government. These guys have been fantastic. I have been doing my best since day one to try not to aggravate them or be a pain in the butt to them, because it's a lot and they know their stuff, you know, and they're not used to having anybody come in and ask questions. I think for the last 3 months, George hasn't been the pain in the butt, Bob Bartis has been. So that got me out of the equation there, but I think that all of us are trending in a great, great way that I don't think's ever happened before. And that's basically from being out in the public and being interactive. The Black Heritage Trail marker ceremony was phenomenal. That was one of the greatest events I've attended in the city. They recorded it. What we do now is we record and we go live. So we are incorporating quite a bit of live TV, then go back and edit. So we've got 3 cameras, you know, and then edit and then put that back up for a replay. But that was a fantastic ceremony over there. And Bob does all the technical aspects of doing Roku, which 180 shows were uploaded to National Public Television on Roku and Apple TV, which is much more than we've ever had before. And we make service calls. I myself have been out to 6 different viewers that I've never met before that contacted the station that were a little leery about how to use stuff, so I make service calls too. So I go out, sit with them in their house, show them how to use this stuff, and they're all happy because I haven't heard from them again. So we do that as well. So trying to get the public involved in what we're doing. And I know there was a little bit of talk about, you know, we would like to have a separate hub broadcast studio for National Public Television with the main ambition of having visibility on Main Street. You know, that was one of the things we wanted to try to do. Doesn't have to be as elaborate as Riverside Drive for sure, for the type of stuff that we're doing. But I visited quite a few people, thanks to Tim Cummings turning me on to some people that own some buildings on Main Street that have windows, but it's not in our budget. So that's just not gonna take place right now. But to get just some signs on Main Street would be a great idea. We did the Main Street Memorial Day Parade live. You know, we did the background VIP access over at Holman Stadium where everybody could watch everybody get together. And then we followed that thing live on Main Street. It was beautiful. We had some connection problems over at Holman, but I had a new cameraman that wasn't really used to how to use that. But other than that, we're working hard, man. We're trying to make Nashville proud of its public television station, and we're getting everybody involved. Actually, whether they like it or not, Ernie.
All right, just for the record, Ms. Linder and Ms. McCormick have joined us. Now, open it up for questions. Any member, Alderman Jettie.
Thank you. So it occurred to me hearing Mr. Johnson and Mr. Russell talk about what they've been doing. You know, there seems to be some overlap. I don't know if that's a problem or not, but you know, it sounds like you both covered the parade. You probably both covered the Black Heritage Trail ceremony. You know, is that, I don't know that it's a concern, but it just occurred to me when I heard you both talk about those things.
So, Pete Johnson here. On the parade side, we do that basically because of the school bands that come through, and we pay close attention to them when they're coming through, and you know, our folks have been used to seeing that coverage on the channel. It's possible that we could, you know, work together and make a bigger presentation at some point in time. But we just did a single camera again from the reviewing stand, which is where the bands all perform as they come through there. If you're set up in a different area, they may just march through with the drummer drumming. And so we try to avoid that and let them know that they should be playing as they're coming through the reviewing stand and seeing us. As far as the other event went, we were there setting up for the Education Day game, which was Wednesday morning. That event happened on Tuesday at Holman Stadium. We were there and had our camera set up anyways, so we recorded it, did not go live, and we used that for an opening and video that we used through the game that was held on Wednesday. They talked about the event, and we had video clips to show of it. So we did finally put together a full event page with an opening graphic, and we went back the next day after the plaque had been placed on the wall. I've got some pictures of that, and you know, made for a nice little package that we could play later on. But I think there'll be events where, you know, the public access will cover it in a different light than we do. We're trying to do things more on the educational side for us. So.
You want me to answer that, Ernie?
I'm sure.
More is more. You know, with the live cameras, we have a lot of the public coming in, they're waving, they're getting inside of it, they feel like it's, in our perspective, just a little bit different. But I do run a lot of the government programs on public television that they don't run as well, because I think they're important for the public. I've actually had emails from people asking me, why aren't we putting the meetings on that they film? I'm like, you know. But there are some that are worthy. Every one of the ones that those guys did for the tannery, all your ward, Jim Doncher's World Tour 2023, they're being on public television too, because that needs to be on. So I do take some of their program and play it on there as well. But we have a different view a lot of times. You know, they're black hair. They're a little more polished. You know, theirs came out fantastic, and I actually play it back to back sometimes. But if we get the live Memorial Day parade, which will probably stop today, I won't play it anymore. Right after that is theirs, so people get a different perspective, as Pete said.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Morgan?
Yeah, I think last time we met, we were asking if BRB TV could submit a report before the meeting. I don't think it's appropriate for us to all digest the information and come up with questions on the spot when all the other information we're expected to report and advise and discuss is prepared ahead of time. So I think I'd really like to see before the next meeting that you guys prepare a written report.
Bob Bartis, that report was prepared and it was filed either on Thursday the 1st, and I provided it to Jeff, and it came out in the minutes, and I have it along with the agenda, the financials, and everything else. It's part of the attachments that came out a week ago.
Okay. Is there a reason it wasn't included in the package today?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, because
Okay.
we actually have never, you know, with the public people, have never included theirs in the printed version, but I always send it out.
Okay.
I mean, you had it.
Yeah, the only times that it was printed was when it was late getting to us and was printed that morning because of that.
Okay.
The print, paper versions that we have are kind of a courtesy in case you forgot your packet, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I actually, so I did get the packet. I actually had to request the packet. BRB TV's info wasn't there, but I don't know if it has to do with the cyber, you know, issues that the technology that the city's having, but their packet was in there, so.
Yeah, I actually did not receive a packet.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there are errors in
Something I
the
gotta check out.
CTEM members mailing list.
I did get the Comcast update, but not the packet.
Yeah, I didn't even get the Comcast update. I had to ask for the
That's
packet,
weird.
so. We'll have to
Because it was the
rectify that
same
for next
list,
time.
I mean, you know, so, okay, we'll check that out.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, very disturbing there as far as the list. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, it's for you. George and Bob, out of all the shows that are being produced, which is great, how many of them would you say are produced out of your Main Street Studios facility versus the Riverside facility?
Good question. A lot of them are from Interconnect.
You mind to elaborate what's interconnected?
And Interconnect is the network of public television stations that uploads their content that you can use on your station.
Okay.
But as far as, yep,
Dan Young, that's the Telview Connect.
Teleview Connect.
Roni is what I think you're familiar with.
Most of them are recorded at Riverside Drive,
Okay.
except for our live or on location type things.
And last time I had asked about the cameras in your Main Street facility. Any kind of, what's the progress on possibly upgrading those cameras?
First of all, I had an emergency with the family. I couldn't be here for last time, and Bob is not up to date technically as I am, so the guy kind of got hammered. Okay, so you guys, anybody's invited over to see the setup anytime. It's state of the art. Those cameras are outstanding, 1080p flawless. Is there an issue?
Well, Mr. Chair, it's for you. I mean, having looked at the on-air products, you know, you have like 3 cameras that are really tiny.
Do you go full screen?
I don't go full screen. I watch on my computer.
Or you can explode them. We use OBS, which some of you are already familiar with, which I can put multiple scenes and cameras in that we can switch off depending on the view of who. It's very difficult to, for instance, I have a lot of people that don't want to go into Riverside Drive and be on TV. They're uncomfortable sitting in front of a camera, but they are comfortable sitting on a microphone in a studio that they've been at. For instance, I can get the mayor in the radio, but I can't get him over to the TV. He's comfortable in that chair like that. So I have a round room. It's hard to film a round room to begin with. So depending on who's in, who's on the board op, I don't want the back of the head of the board up on it if the camera's on there, but I would love you to come see.
Sure.
We're right on Main Street, the door's open, you don't even, no appointment necessary, come on in and take a look at, and you'll see how we can switch off. And there was an issue that was brought up at the last one that I wasn't here, that Ernie addressed, and I actually called him that Monday morning on it, about an ad being played on a television station that's a sponsor for the radio station. Well, that's been extinguished as of that day, and that was a simple mute button that wasn't hit. You know, it's not any more bigger than that, or not setting the audio feed till after. For those of you that watch that live show, I don't have it come on till 8:12, which is after all the spots. Board operator makes a mistake, hits the wrong button, it goes out, I can't take it back.
Yep.
You know, but at some point we need to address this type of issue we're having as well, because I have hosts in Nashua that are out doing business interviews that I have to go film. And it's an infomercial for these businesses. There is no way around it. You know, it's 25 minutes at the ice cream place, 25 minutes at the Chinese restaurant, 25. That's a legit info. Now, is it under the umbrella of, well, we're, you know, focusing on businesses in Nashua? Absolutely, I don't have a problem with it, but we need to revisit it so it can be done across the board for anybody, because I can't say to some person, well, you know, you're grandfathered because you were working with the previous people and that's how they did it, and we're gonna carry that over. The new person, I can't put that on TV. So I get put in a little quagmire with that, and at the same time been called out for a 30-second ad that was played over the radio on a one-time show in the midst of 24 hours. So I was like, okay, I'm doing 30 minutes here for some of these people. I don't say anything, but I think at some point we need to, like if we want to go over to the floral shop and we want to videotape it because I think it's good for Nashville for a half hour, that shouldn't be considered, hey, that's advertising, you can't do this. So there's got to be something.
Mr. Morgan?
Cole Morgan. So I was just checking the BRB TV site, I think what Roni was referring to, and it does appear that the code is actually broken in your site. The full
No, that camera's down right now. We had a computer fail at 7:45 a.m. this morning.
No, the full screen buttons are hidden.
What are you looking at? Which camera?
On both the Center for the Arts and River
All right, you're on
Cam.
brbtv.com.live,
Yeah.
and you're looking at the river camera?
We don't have to go through it now, just letting you know. I think that's what he's referring to is the.
Yeah, because if you take a look at the second, if you take a look at the one for the television right there, that one's playing, and this right here, that computer failed this morning.
The one.
Yes, the one below it, I'm not
Yeah.
even seeing it. Oh, it's right there. Okay, I see what you're saying. So hey, you know what? I'll make that bigger, but 9,000 views in 3 months, that's pretty good on that little thing. That's outstanding. So 9,000 people watched the small thing, and I have not one written complaint about it. And 3,810 unique visitors to that river camp. That's mind-boggling.
If we could just go back to the advertising issue. I think the distinction is whether the spots are paid or not. Public access, if people want to have a program about their business produced and they're sponsoring it or whatever, that's a free speech issue. They can do that. And as long as they're not being charged for that beyond what's laid out. If it's something that is a spot on your radio station that you're being paid for that, and there's an implication that by being on the radio station, you're also going to be getting that same ad on the TV station, that's where we have a problem.
Yeah, and that's been extinguished.
That's what we wanted to make sure. Anyone else have any comments or?
Mr. Chair, just to follow up, and George and Bob, just, you know, you guys are doing great service to the community. We just want to make sure, I think as this board, want to make sure that it's, 10,000 views is great. It's amazing. Want to make sure that you're, it is the elevated, quality products that you're presenting to all of Nashua. So you have folks that are on this board that can offer expertise. I mean, I obviously will stop by the station. The concern was on the ad, I mean, the easy fix and making sure that when, and obviously you're running a commercial station, right? It's a no-brainer. It is what it is. You guys won the contract, congratulations. When you're running your on-air products and your commercial products, on the public side, put a slate up, hey, we're in a commercial break. I mean, that's all, that's, so a slight suggestion that could elevate the brand.
Well, I've
And nothing-
extinguished that because I'm not doing live anymore. Done. That was done that following Monday morning after that meeting when I spoke to the alderman.
I believe last Friday, did you have a morning show live on?
No, it might have been a replay that we edited, because like James Klein, the veteran that talks about suicide prevention, does a show that's recorded and put on television.
Spark.
Or the mayor and the VFW. They are on.
There was a recording that I saw.
Maybe, just give me the time and date and I can follow up and tell you exactly what played.
Happy to follow up offline.
Yeah, and you're invited, please, come on over, I'd like
Sure.
to see it, it's very
Absolutely.
impressive, the studio's beautiful.
Mr. Chairman, no more
We
questions.
try, for public television, we can only put 1080p. I can put 4K on our live cams, depending if people can view it or not. And I'm at the mercy of the people we pay, to stream our service. And if there's an issue, these guys are on top of it pretty quickly.
Mr. Camille?
No more questions, Mr. Chair. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, if there are no further questions for any of the reports, is there a motion with regard to the reports? To accept and place on file?
Mr. Chair, motion to place all reports on file.
All right,
As written.
there's a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the motion passes. Okay, there's no old business listed. New business, studio camera replacement request. All right, someone like to make a motion so we can begin discussion of that?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to open a motion of discussion of the studio camera replacement request.
All right, so, there's been a motion made. We'll begin with discussion. Mr. Painter, would you like to lead us off?
Sure. Again, we put the cameras, the studio cameras we have now, we put them in there in 2010. And they were, top quality then, the best technology we could get. But as time has gone on, there's just everything's changed. I am going to pass this over to you, Pete, only because you technically know more about, the details of this.
Sure. So Pete Johnson again. The cameras that are there were bought for us as HD cameras, even though at the time we had no way of producing any HD content. Some of the things were saved in high def for historical purposes, but it took 3 or 4 years before we got online in an HD format. We're still only broadcast on Comcast in standard definition, although that is supposed to change with one channel that we got in the new contract with Comcast at the end of last year. And we were told that we should be getting that by the end of this year. So we'll see what happens with that. So we've been starting to have some issues with the cameras. One of them needs a lens replacement at this point in time. So we're not able to use that camera the way it's been intended. The other 2 cameras are okay. We have to go in there every couple of weeks and fix dead pixels that are in that system. So that means there's a little white spot or a black spot that comes up on the screen. And that pixel no longer works, but the computer inside there is told, make that gray. So it doesn't look white or it doesn't look black and really show up. So we're having to do that more and more often. When those cameras were put in, we anticipated having camera operators. That hasn't happened much, especially on the public access side. We anticipated that crews were going to come in with the producers themselves. And that hasn't happened. So realistically, we put the camera up, we get a good picture on it, and inevitably during the show, somebody moves. They lean forward, they lean backward, and then the shot is no longer what you intended to see on camera. So these new cameras are going to be what they call PTZ, or point tilt zoom cameras. So when the camera is off air, the director in the other room will be able to make a minor adjustment and fix where the person is in the frame. So if somebody leans forward, they can move the camera slightly and still have the same effect, but no one's out there in the studio doing that. So we're looking to replace the cameras with new PTZs. The new PTZs will be 4K. So even though we can't produce in 4K right now, that's going to be coming down the road. So we're sort of future-proofing ourselves for the next 10 years, hopefully, that these last as long as the current ones have lasted for us. These will also include new tripods that are a little bit smaller at the base, so that will give us more room in the studio. That's always been something over there, that the room is not as big as everybody would like it to be. A lot of that's being taken up now by the larger tripods that the bigger cameras need. So, and there'll be new teleprompters for at least 2 and possibly 3 of the cameras. We have gotten some initial quotes but we're still looking at new cameras. They're willing to come in and show us 2 or 3 cameras in our studio setting to see how they work. And that has not happened yet, but we'd like to get the project done this summer while things are a little bit slower in the studio. And so that's why we're asking for an amount not to exceed $50,000 for the project. We don't think it'll come in at quite that. They pretty much guaranteed us that the numbers they gave us right now are manufacturer's numbers and not necessarily what they can get them for. And that comes in just under 50 grand, so.
All right, any questions? Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend the current motion to replace it with a motion to approve the replacement of cameras and teleprompter mounts at the studio at 11 Riverside Street in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
All right, thank you. Can we consider this a friendly motion? Motion to amend?
Yes.
All right. All right, any questions? Mr. Morgan?
Curious, maybe we meet after this to talk specifics, but curious what brand you're looking at and if the studio has ability for any NDI or NDI-HX, if any of that was taken into consideration for the purchase.
So the studio switcher is NDI capable, and that's how we can get the 4K in. So yes, that's been discussed. We're looking at 2 or 3 different brands, as I said, right now, and going to see how they work in the studio. Trying to remember the name of the brand, but the same as the cameras that we're using in here, the same brand, so.
Dan Young, they're Lumens 71, 61, 7100, something like that.
61.
Oh, the
Yeah,
61,
61 SN, I believe. But they're gonna come in with 2 or 3. They're planning on doing what they're calling a shootout, where they put 3 cameras up. We're gonna invite some other stations that are looking to do the same thing with upgrades to come in and view that as well, so.
All right, any other?
Was there a consideration of NDI for the studio when you look
The
at these
studio
cameras?
has been NDI capable for a long time. We were one of the first adopters in the area to use NDI. So I don't know, is there a specific to the question, or?
If we're looking at making a purchase or an improvement to the studio, most camera equipment is moving towards NDI at this point.
Yeah, all the cameras would be NDI capable, no matter what. That's the only way we can get the 4K image into our switcher anyhow, so.
I guess my specific question, it would be, what else at the studio would be prudent to upgrade at the same time if we're moving to NDI capable cameras, to also make sure that we have the proper networking equipment to push
Yes.
multiple NDI signals
Yeah,
at 4K?
There'll be its own switch
Okay.
involved with that.
And is that in the 50?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other? Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, at the risk of embarrassing myself, what does NDI mean?
I'm glad you asked.
Network device interface?
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
Basically, we used to use regular, like, coaxial wire, like you would have used from your wall to your television, only with a different type of connector on it to go between the camera and the video switcher. Now everything's going to being network capable, so you can just plug into any network port and get the signal back to the switcher via network. So that protocol, the NDI protocol, is what allows you to send the camera image back to the switcher on a network. So we use that quite regularly. Anyhow, these cameras we can see with our switcher over at Riverside Street, just over the city network between the buildings. So it gives us a lot more flexibility in where we can shoot from. If need be, and the switcher goes down in this room, we can actually go to the studio and switch the TV show or the meeting. So,
Thank
does
you.
that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
And just to add on to that, the reason for the question is that it uses a massive amount of data. So most networks are what's called 1 gig, but networks need to be 10 gig, which is quite a bit more expensive. Every signal takes about 1 gig. So to have 10 cameras, 10 gig, et cetera, but the whole network that they're on would need to be at that faster speed. You can't mix 1 and 10. So we just wanted to make sure the whole studio could take 4 or 5
Studio
cameras, and
itself.
as we build, make sure there's room for expansion.
Mr.
No,
Painter?
I was just going to say an example too, is in room 208, we haven't finished it yet, but we can access room 208 from our switcher here. So we can do either one, so one switcher, but you can do 2 different or multiple locations.
Right. Any other questions? Chief
I'm
Johnson?
not sure who it's appropriate to answer this question, but I noticed in the budget in the equipment line, there's only about $4,000, and under capital improvements, there's a significant amount of money. So would this be a capital improvements type?
Capital
This would
improvement
be-
expense.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll move to a vote on the motion as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. All right. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is public comment. I know, Dan, you had something you wanted to.
Yes, Dan Young, with the changes coming up in the channel lineup, when I had first come on board, I kind of wanted to start this project, but now with the changes coming up with the channel lineup, I thought that it would be good to go ahead and rebrand the education, the government, and then the overall Nashua Community Television logos to something a little bit more cohesive, not necessarily including the channel number still within it, but maybe as like a separate like little sub thing or whatever. And if I just wanted to invite anyone on this board, if they had any ideas of a something within Nashua that when you think of Nashua, you think of the Gate City, or you think of the City Hall building or something to help with that, process, because I can't use bridges and I can't use something else there. So what are the radio level things, whatever. So if anybody has any suggestions for what they think of when they think of Nashua, please reach out to me. And that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thing too.
Oh.
Excuse me, Pete Johnson, National Educational TV. So I did want to mention that we will be out at the graduations next week. So if anybody wants to watch, we'll have those on live. They're scheduled for Monday and Tuesday nights. I believe, looking at the weather right now, Monday should be okay. Tuesday may end up being pushed back to later in the week because of forecasted rain, so just so sort of pay attention. But those will be on our regular channels and also on our streaming service via Roku and Apple TV and online. So anybody from around the country or around the world can watch if they know some kids that are involved in the graduation. And the date that has been set by Comcast, they're anticipating August 8th will be the date that the channels will change. So that'll be before our next meeting.
Mr. Painter?
Also, I just want to add, Jeff Painter, on the 20th, we'll also be going live in North High for that budget public hearing. So that right before the July 1st.
All right.
Mr.
Are there
Chairman?
any remarks by members? Alderman Jettie?
Yeah, could I ask for clarification when you were talking about suggestions for the logo? You said not bridges and not something else. I wasn't clear what the
Yes,
something else was.
we had recently visited Roni down in Tingsboro, and they just went through a logo redesign. And one of my first ideas that I was thinking was the iconic Main Street Bridge. Sorry, this is Daniel Young. I was thinking the iconic Main Street Bridge, maybe with like the little bit of the audio level sort of look, and their new logo is their bridge in Tingsboro, built with the audio levels on there. So no Main Street bridges, unfortunately. So.
Mr. Church, for you, you could, the logo is shareable.
And then I guess if we're talking about the logos, the other thing that I want to avoid as well is the standard, so many of our fellow cable access stations within the region also use like a television within theirs. Merrimack TV, is it Merrimack or Milford, is just like Merrimack TV inside a little square television sort of thing. So I'm looking for something that says a little bit more, something that says Nashua to it, as opposed to something a little bit more generic. Does that answer the question, hopefully?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would think, Pete Johnson here, that one of the other reasons to avoid the bridge is we use a bridge quite often in what the school district uses in their Battle of the Bridge. So we don't want to have too many things that have bridges in it. So that would be a reason to avoid the bridge, because we use it for a different thing 3 times a year for the fall, winter, and spring Battle of the Bridge between the 2 high schools. So.
All right. Anyone else? If not, is there a final motion?
I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.